Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Auzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we want introduce ourselves first. My name is Luki Astaputra as a moderator and presenter number 2, and Mega Astuti as a presenter number 1. Today we want to present about ESP course and material development, ESP and listening skill. And next will be Mega will be present first. Mega, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for my friends Luki Aset Putra. Next slide. Okay, here I want to tell you about our material. First is table of contents. First is definition ESP, and the second is need analysis, and the third is component in listening skill, and the fourth is the result of questionnaire, and the last is conclusion. Next slide. A definition ESP. According to Hood and Waters, define ESP as an approach to language teaching in which all decisions as to content and method are based on the learner's reason in learning. And then another definition is according to Rickards and Roger. So ESP as a movement that seeks to serve the language needs of learners who needs English in order to carry out specific roles and who needs to acquire content and real-world skills through the medium of it rather than master the language for its own sake. And B, definition need analysis. According to Noonan, need analysis is defined as a set of produced for specifying the parameters of course of study. Broadly defined, needs analysis is a product to collect information about learners' needs. And then process of need analysis is first, decide the purpose of the analysis, delimit specify the student population, decide on the approach, determine and decide to work within the constraint limitation, and select method of collecting data, collect data, analyze and interpret result, decide on your syllabus objective, result analysis lead to syllabus objective and principles, and then a syllabus, content, materials, method, and etc. The next is component in listening skill. One is receiving. The first of the 5 elements of listening is maybe the most simple. Receiving, the element of listening consists of being heard or receiving. 2, understanding. In the understanding stage, we attempt to learn the meaning of the message, which is not always easy, deciding what the message means to you. 3, remembering. Remembering begins with listening. If you can remember something that was said, you might not have been listening effectively. 4, evaluating. The first stage in the listening process is evaluating. Evaluation of some message can vary widely from one listener to another. And the last is responding. Responding is sometimes referred to as feedback, is the 5th and final stage of the listening process, your reaction to the message. The next. Method. This research was descriptive research since its purpose was to describe the learning stage and their achievement in speaking and listening. And then the participant is students and English teacher in senior high school in Padang. And the last is objective, to know the difficulties student in understanding listening material and to see requirement student about English material. Okay, I think enough for my explanation. Back to moderator.
Thank you for the explanation, Mega. Okay, I will continue my explanation. Need analysis. After giving the questionnaire to science class students, social class students, and teachers, the data was described and analyzed. There are two main data in this research. They are the frequency of problems, or also known as lags, and the degree of importance, or also known as ones. Each data stands for four categories. They are input, topic, language, and vocabulary. From the data, we can see that student and the teacher perceptions are very related to students' needs of listening material in SHS 10 Padang. It can be seen that the percentage of ones are higher than the percentage of lags. Next slide, please. And this is the component, subcomponent, the frequency of problem, the percentage, and the degree of importance. This is have inputs, and the have for items is audio, audiovisual, multimedia, interactive multimedia. The audio is 46.9, and the degree of importance is 77.9. And audiovisual is 46.8, and the degree of importance is 81.5. Multimedia is 40, and the frequency of problem is, and the degree of importance is 80.5. Interactive multimedia, the frequency of problem is 46.7, and the degree of importance is 84. And the topics is the frequency of problem is 32, and the degree of importance is 96.2. The languages is 4 items, is grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and skill. Grammar is 43.6, and the degree of the importance is 97.6. Vocabulary, the frequency of problem is 68.5, and the degree of importance is 98. Pronunciation, the frequency of problem is 75.1, and the degree of importance is 98.9. And skills is the frequency of problem is 46, and the degree of importance is 95.4. The component of tasks, the frequency problem is 552.17, and the degree of importance is 95.32. Next slide, please. And this is the result of questionnaire. And the first is need analysis. The first is, do students have a good enough English language skills? The respondents say no. And number 2, are English skills very necessary for students? Respondents say yes. What skills do student needs? The student is always listening as well. And number 4 is students' understanding is at the level. Respondents say that is a basic. What learning do you like the most? The respondent will say learning through conversation, audio conversation. Next slide. And the target needs is there are four aspect is a goals, necessities, lack, and wants. And the aspect of first is goals, the purpose of the questions. To find out the reason the student have difficulty listen English words. And the necessities is to find out situation that require using English. Like to find out the employees difficulties to listen English language. Wants to find out listening skills in students. Next slide. And this is a kind of syllabus in the first meeting. And the objective is this is a given glossary from teachers. Student will be able to know vocabulary in hotel industry field with no error in mentioning the vocabularies that is asked. The indicator first, students are able to mention vocabulary about activities related to the hotel industry. Number two, students are able to understand English accent. Number three, students are able to respond to conversation in any situation. The material is three they are vocabulary in daily activities and conversation in the daily activities. The method is an audio lingual method. The media is speaker, audio, conversation, YouTube, dictionaries, and book. Activities. There are three activities. The first, the teacher shows example of the conversation about the daily activities and the students pay attention to the teacher's explanation. Number two, teacher instructs student to note important things in their own books. The teacher asks the student randomly about the vocabulary that they listen before teachers ask to the students to explain about the material that had been delivered. Number three is the teacher asks the student to have a conversation in the front of the class. Assessment criteria. Students must memorize the vocabulary that has been given. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The assessment is criteria. Students must memorize the vocabulary that has been given, be able to pronounce correctly the vocabulary that has been learned, and students must be able to have conversation in English, especially in the hotel industry. The minimum criteria in mastering learning is 70. Remedial, the teacher asks to the student, discuss difficult material or vocabulary together. Then the student is given time to learn, and then the teacher will give the test back. The source is book, YouTube, audio. The time is 2:45 minutes. Um, Next slide. And the conclusion is based on data analysis and finding several conclusions can be determined. The first is about need analysis, and the second to get information about the student necessities, lacks, and wants related to listening materials viewed from input, content, language, and test in senior high school 10 Padang. The students' necessities in listening material are already drawn in the curriculum and syllabus, which included the expression functional text and monologue text. The necessities are included into topics which have been used to find out students' lacks and wants about topic or content of listening material. There are still many students have problems in mastering listening skills. The lacks can be seen from their ability in comprehending the listen material and also accomplishing the task. There are still some input topics language and tasks which have not been mastered yet by the students, so that cannot achieve their optimal result in listening. Okay, thank you guys. That's our presentation about ESP and listening. If you have some questions, let me know.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 5. I'm Sania Trihelena and my partner Nova Anissa and Muhammad Niko Kasah. Today we will present our material entitled ESP and Speaking the Developed Syllabus. Alright, to shorten the time, let's start today's presentation. The first material will be explained by Niko Kasah. Niko, time is yours.
Thank you. ESP and speaking skills. Hutchinson and Waters, 1987, define ESP, English for specific purpose, as an approach to language teaching in which all decisions regarding content and methods are based on the learner's reasons for learning, while speaking is the process of constructing and sharing meaning through the use of verbal and nonverbal symbols in a variety of contexts. Chinese cited in Kai 2006, later cited in Sokova 2011-17, speaking as a learner's ability to express himself orally, coherently, fluently, and appropriately in a certain meaningful context. Turkey 2006, 34. Next. Three aspects of speaking as a skill in teaching and learning English. 1. Speaking is face-to-face. 2. Speaking is interactive. 3. Speaking happens in real time. According to Chowday, 1973, there are 5 components of speaking skills. 1. Pronunciation. 2. Grammar. C. Vocabulary. 4. Fluency. 5. Comprehension. Research methodology. 1. Research design. The research design of this study is categorized into a qualitative research. Qualitative research is a research which the data in the forms of written or oral words are analyzed descriptively. Malone, 1983, page 3. 2. Subjects of the study. The first subject of the study were the students at second semester that have learned English speaking for everyday communication. The second subject was the lecturer of English speaking. 3. Source of data. The source of data were students, lecturer, and the sample of the speaking project or videos of the speaking project. The technique of taking samples of the students to extend the questionnaire was propositive sampling or judgment sampling, where a sample of elements judged to be typical or representative are chosen from the populations. In the study, the populations of the students of the second semester were 74 students from A, B, and C classes.
Okay, the next presenter will be explained by Nova. Nova, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Sania, for the time. The next material is research instrument. Questions number 1 until 12. The official statement is to know the student's problem of learning speaking or LEX. The questions number 13 is to know the present and future domains of language use and thus the reasons for studying English or target. The questions number 14 is to know the student's attitude toward the place and role of English, the curriculum. Target. The questions number 15 is to know the learning preferences in terms of language skills or wants. The questions number 16 is to know the importance of particular language skills or wants. The questions number 17 is to know the preferred learning styles and strategies for wants. Questions number 18 to know the patterns of the learner to the interactions or wants. Questions number 19, to know the role relationship or wants. And the last questions, number 20, is to know the preference for the teaching activities. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is the questionnaire for the lectures of speaking. There are 6 questions that ask. Questions number 1 is the information related to time of teaching. Questions number 2, the information related to speaking for everyday communication. Questions number 3 is the method that is used in the teaching English speaking. Questions number 4, the problem that is usually found in speaking class. Questions number 5 is the way to solve the problem of speaking. And the last questions, or number 6, is the needs of the students. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now this is the research finding. The table 1, students problem learning speaking or LEX. As we can see in the screen, there are 12 questions about the LEX. The first question is, have difficulty in giving an oral presentation. The option of the answer, there are always, often, sometimes, and never. 3 students answer always, 12 students answer often, and 9 students answer sometimes. For the second question is, had trouble wording that I want to say quickly enough. 1 student answer always, 13 students answer often, and 10 students answer sometimes. For the third question, I'm worried about saying something in the class will make mistake in my English. 2 students answer always, 11 students answer often, and 10 students answer sometimes. 1 student answer never. For the fourth questions is, I don't know how to say something in English. 3 students answer often, and 20 students answer sometimes. 1 student answer never. Okay, next is the questions number 5. I don't know the best way to say something in English. 12 students answer often. Next slide, please. And 10 students answer sometimes, 2 students answer never. I have difficulty in pronunciation words. 8 students answer often, 15 students answer sometimes, 1 student answer never. The questions number 7 is find it difficult to enter the discussion. For the answer always and often, there are 1 student, 16 students answer sometimes, and 6 students answer never. The 8th questions is receive low grades in a task involving class participation. 4 students answer often, 11 students answer sometimes, 9 students answer never. Okay, the next questions number 9 is have difficulty working in small groups during class. 9 students answer sometimes, 15 students answer never. The next questions is have difficulty participating in a large group discussions or in the debate. 3 students answer always, 1 student answer often, 9 students answer sometimes, and 11 students answer never. The next question is, have trouble leading class discussion. 1 student answer always, 9 students answer often, 8 students answer sometimes, and 6 students answer never. Okay, and the last question is, have difficulty working with other students on out of class project. 1 student answer often, 8 students answer sometimes, and 15 students answer never. Okay, the next slide, please. Now, questions number 1 show that 12 of the students often have difficulty in oral presentations. Questions number 2 show that 13 of the students often get the trouble wording in speaking. Questions number 3 show that 11 of the students often worried about saying something in the case we'll make mistake in English. Questions number 4 show that 20 of the students sometimes don't know how to say something in English. Questions number 5 show that 12 of the students sometimes don't know how the best way to say something in English. Questions number 6 show that 15 of the students sometimes have difficulty in pronunciations of words. Questions number 7 show that 16 of the students sometimes find difficult to enter the discussion. Questions number 9 show that 15 of the students never have difficulty working in small groups during class. Questions number 10 show that 11 of the students never have difficulty participating in a large group discussions or in the debate. For the questions number 11 show that 9 of the students often have trouble leading class discussions. And the last questions, or number 12, show that 15 of the students never have difficulty working with other students on of class project. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is the table 2, the present and future domains of language use and just reasons for studying English or target. The question is, why do you need to study English speaking? The options of the answer there are to get higher education, to get success for future professions, to speak to foreigner, to speak with friends. And the answer for the students is 7 students choose to get higher educations, 12 students answer to get success for future professions, and 5 students choose to speak to foreigner. The questions number 13 was to know the students' reasons for studying English speaking. Based on the table 2 above, it can be seen that 29.17% of students consider getting higher education, 50% of the students consider to get success for a future professions, and 20.83% of the students consider to speak to a foreigner. Okay, next slide, please. The next is the students' attitude towards the place and role of English or target. The question is, when do you use English speaking? The options are when studying, when socializing, at home, at office, and other. For the answer, 15 students answer when studying and 9 students answer when socializing. Questions number 14 was aimed at knowing the student response, the timing English speaking use. From the data on the table 3, it can be described that 62.5% of the student taught when studying and 37.5% of the student taught when socializing. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is the table 4 about learning preferences in terms of language skills or wants. The question is, in future, I shall be using English for the options. There are higher education, job career, socializing at home, and others. Okay, and for the answer, 13 students choose higher education, 10 students answer job career, and 1 student choose socializing. Questions number 15 was established the future English speaking use of the students. From the data on the table 4, it can be described that 54.17% of the students thought that they will use it for higher education, 41.67% for seeking job or developing a career, and 4.17% for socializing. Next slide, please. Okay. Now is table 5, the importance of particular language skills or wants. The question is, would you like speaking course to be taken away from university curriculum because you don't find the present syllabus and the way classroom teaching helpful in fulfilling your needs of English? The options of the answer is there are strongly disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree. And all the students, or 24 students, choose strongly disagree. Questions number 16 was intended to get the students' opinion about the place of English speaking in the curriculum structure of the university. The data on the table 5 show that 100% of the students strongly disagree with the opinion of removing speaking from the top when studying. Next. Okay, this is the table 6 about preferred learning styles and strategies or wants. The question is, do you think if a student's level of English not good, it can have? The options of the answer, there are a good effect on his academic performance, a bad effect on his academic performance, and not effect at all on his performance. And for the answer, all students or 24 students choose a bad effect on his academic performance. Questions number 17 was to find out the possible role of English in the present academic and future life of the students. And the results show that the students 100% thought that bad English proficiency bad effect on academic performance. Okay, next. This is the table 7 about patterns of learner to the interactions. The question is, what kind of speaking class do you like? The options of the answer is there are a class with a lot of activities, very group and project, teaching only by the teacher and no activities by the students. And for the answer of the students, 9 students choose a class with a lot of activities, 14 students choose pair, group, and project, and 1 student choose teaching only by the teacher and no activities by the students. Questions number 18 asks about the students' preference of speaking class activities. It can be seen from the table above that 37.5% prefer to have a class with a lot of activities. 58.33% of the students like pair, group, or project, and only one or 4.17% of students wants to learn with teacher center. Okay, that's all my explanations. Back to moderator.
Table 8, role relationship. Question number 19, investigate the students' preference of learning activities in the classroom. In this table A question, the question is, how do you prefer to do learning activities? An option of the answer, A, in class, B, preference for working in pair or groups, C, preference for working alone, and the number of students who answer each was 24, and the students answer choose one in option A, and B, student choose 70. On the table above, note 4.17% of the students prefer activities in the class, 70.83% of the students prefer for working in pair or groups, and 25% of the students prefer for working alone. Table, next slide. Table 9, preference for teaching activities. Question number 20 is focused to examine the student's preference of teacher's rule. The question is, what kind of rule do you like your teacher to have? An option of the answer, A as the facilitator and guide, B traditional rule, someone in control of everything in class. And the number of students who answer each 24. The result in the table above describe that 79.17% of the students want the teacher as facilitator and guide, and 20.83% of the students want the teacher that has traditional role, someone in control of everything in class. Next slide. Data from the interview with the lecturer. General information. According to the lecturer, English speaking for everyday communication is the name of speaking course with the purpose of this study is student to be able to communicate, pronounce, and apply grammar. He prefers some methods when he taught English speaking for everyday communication to second semester students of English study program, but the methods that usually use practice individual and practice in group. Next slide. Lags. Based on the lecture view about lags, he found some problems of the students in this course that classical problems. They were lack of vocabulary. To solve the problems of speaking, actually the solution that he suggests to the students to solve the problem was they have to get open interactive with English and practice a lot. Necessities or target. Because the course of speaking, so they had to learn about some materials related to speaking for everyday communication, such as learn how to perform a soft introduction, to talk about routines, to ask about and describe people. Once, based on the lecture experience, students need in English speaking for everyday communication class for the first, if the show from the tools that can be used in the class is maybe some kind of audio facility. Next slide. Need analysis, speaking skill second semester of the program of English Department at IAIN Palangkaraya. The target needs lacks 50% of the students often have difficulty in oral presentation, and almost all the students less in vocabularies, and they were often worried say something in the case will make mistake in English. The students also did not know well about grammar, so they did not how the best way something in English. The data interview with the lecturer of the speaking then agreed on this finding. The lecturer said the problems that he usually found were the English students of second semester less in vocabularies, and even they knew the vocabulary they were shy to speak in case will make mistake in English speaking. Next slide. Necessary or targets. 50% of students consider to get success for a future preparation. Lecturer report the targets of the students. They had to learn about some materials related to speaking for everyday communication. Once the students thought that they will use English speaking for higher education, all the students 100% strongly disagree with the opinion of removing speaking course from university curriculum. All the students 100% thought that English proficiency determined a bad effect on the academic performance. The students 50 80% like pair or group or project. The students 70.83% also prefer for making in pair or groups, and students 79 79.17 want to the teacher as the facilitator and guide. Next slide. Learning needs. From the questionnaire that has been given, the research information is obtained among others. Most of the students tend to learn to speak in group discussion, and they want to teacher as facilitator and mentor. From the lecturer opinion, he also added information related to the desire of students become good speakers. They must be good listener, so that audio facilitator will help them to listen and learn the language well from native speaker directly. Speaking strategy, using pair work and group maximally, group work increase students' talk time. They can share information with each other and also lowers burners. Next slide. The syllabus, English for second semester students of the program of English Department at IAIN Palangkaraya. The objective is the second semester students of the IAIN Palangkaraya English Study Program are able to speak and communicate using English in a campus environment. In the indicator, to add new vocabulary, to master grammar, well, to speaking skills in English. The content can be able to pronounce the grammar correctly and can have simple conversation, can introduction yourself, friends or family, and can tell the experience. The material or media use video conversation, MP3 or audio, dictionary, and drama. The method use audiolingual method. In the activities, the learners watch video conversation on about family and friends. And friends learners learn new words, new introduction, storytelling, and more to the dictionary to know how to pronunciation words. And learners practice self-introduction, share experience, and dialogue with friends about daily activities. For assessment, here use oral test and for the time that I set to meeting 45 minutes. Okay, we will open a question and answer session. If anyone to ask, please just ask. This afternoon, more and less, we apologize. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.